Tonight, what we're going to talk about is why we pray from a siddur. Why can't I just pray whatever I want? So we're going to give a brief history of the siddur, where it came from, and then talk about this. We pray 3 times a day in Judaism. Morning, afternoon, and evening. Shachris, Mincha, Mariv. No one would think twice about not eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, not feeding themselves, feeding their body. We have to also feed our soul. Prayer, 3 times a day, is our spiritual food. Keeps us going, keeps us energized, keeps us in touch. The 3 prayer services come from 2 places. First one, you can see on your sheets, are 3 different places in the Torah. One by Abraham, one by Isaac, and one by Jacob. The morning prayer, it says, was initiated by Abraham. The afternoon prayer by Isaac. And the evening prayer by Jacob. 3 patriarchs, 3 prayers. The prayer system that we pray from today, the siddur, was established by the Anshe Knesset Hagdola, the men of the Great Assembly. Who were these people? These were a group of prophets and sages following the destruction of the first temple. And they lasted until the early decades of the second temple. We're talking, practical terms, between 400 BCE and 300 BCE, this time span. Counted among them are the last of the prophets, great sages. Mordechai from the Purim story was one of the members of the Anshe Knesset HaGadola. You have Nehemiah, Shimon HaTzadik, who's the high priest. They realized that people of the time were getting spiritually weaker. What does that mean? Why were they getting spiritually weaker? They had just lost the first temple. Kingship was almost gone. The idea of living in Israel and king was almost non-existent. And prophecy was all but gone in those days. The Jewish people as a whole were spiritually getting lower, and noticeably lower. They expanded the Sanhedrin from its usual 70 members to 120, with the special aim of strengthening Judaism, rejuvenating Judaism. The last thing that they did was structuring and formalizing the prayer service. It's one of the last things they did, and it continued a few hundred years later. During the First Temple period, there was no need, during the First Temple period and before, there was really no need for a formalized liturgy, a siddur. Why? Number one, God's presence was much more manifest. First Temple period, everything is, all the nations of the world are, seeing the great kingdom of Israel. Before that, you had, before the Jews entered into the land and settled it, they were in the desert. God's feeding them manna every day. It's a tremendous spiritual level. You don't have to, they didn't need a prayer service, a formalized prayer service. Everything was very open and apparent. The relationship was very easy to maintain. Much of the objective of what we accomplish in the siddur during First Temple times and Second Temple times were accomplished through the sacrifices. You also didn't need a formalized liturgy because we had the temple and the sacrifices, and those accomplished what we accomplish now through prayer. By the way, just added bonus, that's one of the other reasons why we have 3 prayer services every day, to correspond and make up for the 3 times during the day that the sacrifices were offered in the temple. Now, truthfully, the Shacharis prayer that we pray in the morning corresponds with the morning sacrifice. The afternoon prayer, Mincha, corresponds with the afternoon sacrifice. There was no night sacrifice, but there was certain nighttime duties and remnants of sacrifices that were allowed to be burned. So that was the Ma'ariv prayer, the evening prayer. So when we pray today in the siddur, it's corresponding and making up for the sacrifices that were practiced in temple times. Now, throughout the siddur, these were great prophets and great sages who formed this Anshe Knesset HaGdola, the men of the Great Assembly. They encoded within the siddur, within the structure of the prayer book, all sorts of hidden secrets, hidden messages, things that we would never, in this generation, be able to come up with on ourselves, by ourselves. For example, just everything has a meaning. In the Shemona Esrei, if you look at the prayer, the part of the prayer that asks for healing, Rife'enu, there are 27 words. This corresponds to the 27 words in the verse where God promises to be the healer of the Jewish people. It's linked up. Everything has the wording of the Shemona Esrei, of the Amidah, which is the pinnacle of Jewish prayer. It says that even if a person doesn't even concentrate during the majority of the prayer, it still has an effect in the world. Just because the structure of the words, cryptically encoded in this, is a very, very powerful message and effect. Only someone of the caliber of the Anshe Knesset HaGdola, the men of the Great Assembly, could form something like this. So why is it that we're praying out of these books? Why do we pray? Besides these added bonuses that they're encoded with hidden meanings and they're written by very holy people. I saw a great article, and I'll share what there's many explanations for it. I read an article recently that had an approach that I had never considered before, and I really liked it, so I'm going to share it with you today. Anyone ever used to watch The Twilight Zone? Great show, right? 1960s, when TV was okay to watch, right? Maybe. It's wholesome anyway. So there's one episode of The Twilight Zone where they come and they show, there was an older gentleman, and he's very bothered. All he wants to do with his life is sit and read. He works for the Library of Congress. He wants to just sit and read. That's his life, right? He loves it. But he's got so much troubles. When he's at home, his wife bothers him. When he's at his job, his boss bothers him. When he's on the street, people bother him. Everyone's always on his case. And so one time, he gets fed up and he says, "Can't everyone just go away?" And so the episode continues, and he goes down one day into one of the deep vaults of the Library of Congress, and he's doing his thing, and he falls asleep. He wakes up, and he returns back up, looks around, nobody's there. Goes outside, no one on the street. So he discovers that he is the sole survivor of a nuclear war. Everyone else had been vaporized. He's the sole survivor. So at that moment, he's overjoyed. Now, finally, he could be left alone. This is what he's always wanted. And so he goes into the Library of Congress, the biggest store of books you can imagine, and he starts gathering this stack and gathering this stack. And he's so excited, and he jollies over to his seat, and as he puts the books down, his glasses fall off and break, shattered to a million pieces. He's blind without them. Now he's left there, stranded and alone, forever. Sometimes in life, we don't know what we really want. What we want sometimes is what our neighbor wants. These days, it's hard for us to see the big picture, what we want, what we really want, what we really need, and what would be good for us. It's hard for us sometimes to see the big picture. We want what the guy on TV has. We see that, oh, this person's driving this kind of car, we want that. There's recently a woman in therapy. And she goes to the therapist. This is a true story. And she says, that she wants to get a divorce from her husband. And she said there was no bad thing about the husband. She wanted fun, she got fun. She wanted outgoing, she got outgoing. She wanted a good job, she got a good job. She wanted nice, she got nice. He's a great guy. But it's not what so what was her problem? It's not what she really needed. She says, I need someone I can have a deep conversation with. I need someone to inspire me, who I can look up to. And I don't have that. At the time, I didn't know what I really needed or wanted. These are all good qualities. He's a great person, but it's not what I really, really needed. How many times in life do we not really know what we need or what we want? A person wants more money, right? Well, maybe if they had more money, they'd be engrossed in materialism, or always trying to, seek out more. Someone wants a promotion, right? Well, maybe that's going to take away time from your family. So all these things that we want and we think we need and we think we want, sometimes it's just our little kind of skewed view of the world. It's not, in the grand scheme, it's not what would really be good for us, not what we really want or really need. Our forefathers had tremendous spiritual sensitivity. They had the clarity in life to form their own prayers. In the later generations, we needed help focusing on what's really important. If it was up to us just to pray whenever we felt like it or for whatever we want, okay, we'd be like the little kid. Give me a bike. That's exactly how we would be. The consistency of praying 3 times a day in a structured manner helps us to accomplish this goal, to think about what's really important in life. A person, of course, is encouraged to, they should, in fact, pray also personal prayers. In fact, there's spots within the siddur, within the makeup of the siddur, that a person can insert their own prayers. It's very common, and it's encouraged. You need both. It has to come from you, it has to be personalized, but you also need the structure, the greater picture. Let me ask you something. Why is it that Hallmark cards is a multi-billion-dollar-a-year industry? Multi-billion dollars. You give someone a card, you don't even write that. They should take that and throw it in the garbage. It used to be, now cards are becoming more personalized. It used to be, you had 3 sections of cards. You had, thank you card, birthday card, and, anniversary card. Now you have happy 42nd birthday to my second cousin once removed. You can get a card for anything these days. But what's the whole idea? What do we do? What are we saying when we go to the store, we go to Walgreens, we go to Publix, we go wherever we go. We find a card that expresses we couldn't express to the other person in our own words. We don't have the fluency. We're not well spoken to express ourselves properly, so we find the card that expresses it most, that expresses it best. This is what I really want to say, just couldn't put it into words. Clearly everybody wants to do that because, again, greeting cards are a multi-billion-dollar-a-year industry. It's clearly necessary for us. What do people usually do? They usually insert a little message of their own. Dear Grandma, and you write a little thing, love, Johnny. So you need both. You need the structure to help us focus in on what's really important in the grand scheme. Hey, I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about considering that. But we also have to personalize it and make it our own. These are the reasons that we have a siddur. So again, first reason, because of eloquence and because we don't always know what we want, like the Hallmark card. Second, because the siddur contains within it wondrous secrets. It's cryptically encoded with wondrous secrets, very, very powerfully written, very powerfully done, that even if we don't understand or concentrate during every word, it still has an effect in the world. And number 3, because it replaces the sacrificial order. This is the reason that we pray from siddur. So now that we know a little bit about why we pray from the siddur, it would make sense to go through the siddur a little bit, what we're trying to accomplish, what we're getting at. What does the prayer service mean? I read the siddur every day, never thought about it like this. Find out next time.